What up, guys? This is Boondocks, and right now I'm showing my last main build with probably my weakest character, and that is my Mechromancer Gaige. I run Gaige as a ordered chaos for the Anarchy stacks, and of course, best friends forever. That's mostly because elemental damage kind of drops off as far as the procs go when you're playing OP8. The extra damage that you get from, say, lighting an enemy on fire or having the continuous shock is pretty low, all things considered. So, because of that, Little Big Trouble kind of isn't nearly as beneficial as it is in the higher levels. The only thing that is beneficial is when it just increases the elemental damage in general. But, moving on, this build focuses getting the bonus damage from Anarchy, and then using guns that can use that Anarchy stacks very effectively. So, smaller, lighter, faster helps you build it up and gives you the increased reload speed. Then Anarchy, of course, is the main focus. The pre-shrunk Cyberpunk gives you a higher Anarchy max stats, so that way you can have it up to 400 using the class mod that I currently have, which doesn't give any bonuses here. Blood-soaked shields is really nice because every time you get a kill, your shields automatically recharge, and because of that, you'll rarely take any hits to your health unless you get seriously alpha striked and can't kill any enemy in return. And the 5% health loss per kill, not that big of a deal if you start throwing out negative grenades. Rational Anarchist for 1 point, getting you a fast 25 Anarchy when you first start off. That's really nice. Then the 9th degree, when you have it at 5, then every 5th bullet that hits an enemy gets bounced towards another one. Right here, this is for the shield capacity more than the shock damage reduction, though the shock damage reduction is nice purely because of the fact that it's so high. I have Strength of 5 Gorillas just to give the bonus damage for the Death Trap. I don't really rely on him that much because it is an AI-controlled character, and AIs usually break. Just look at Maya's Phase Lock. That AI, oh my god, so sad. But I also gave Death Trap other melee abilities to help boost that as well. Over on this side we have Close Enough. That's what makes Anarchy work, the fact that bullets can bounce off walls and therefore actually hit the enemy when you're going to be missing most of the time from massive Anarchy stacks anyway. And you're going to be firing a lot. So you'd have to have your magazine at full in order to get the benefit of this. You can actually make Mechro builds that have infinity pistols, but then you need a very specific class mod. But then your magazine's totally full at all times, and you can gain a decent amount of health regen, almost as good as Axton. Better half, just when you get to the second half of your magazine, you increase your fire rate pretty drastically. You only put 1 point in Unstoppable Force. You don't care about the shield regen because every time you get a kill to activate this kill skill, your shield's going to max out anyway. Really, I put 1 point in here because I get the bonus from the class mod, and I like movement speed, if you've watched any of my other videos. This just makes it so Death Trap stays out longer, and hopefully does some work because he's stupid. Maximum health, always nice. The Explosive Clap does decent damage in all honesty. And then you and Death Trap gain damage reduction in all damage types. That's the main focus here, not so much the melee damage. Then reducing his cooldown, and sharing is caring. Now, sharing and caring is really nice if you use a shield such as Black Hole to spawn in Death Trap, and then after that switch over to a damaging shield such as the B, or higher survivability like the Blockade or the Antagonist, something like that. Do not use an OP8 Hoplite. They're broken and will drop your life to 0 instantaneously. And then with the Mechromancer's Blood-Soaked Shields, as soon as you get a kill, you're going to down yourself every time. So it's going to do 5% health damage of your max health, not the remaining. So because of that, you're just going to stay dead. and it's kind of annoying. If it did current health instead of max health, then you can make some seriously powerful builds with the hoplite. Sadly, that's not the case. With the OP8 hoplite anyway, you can always try it with a lower level one. I do not have a good relic for my Mechromancer. I guess, actually, Heart of the Ancients might be pretty nice right now, since I'm going to be using mostly shotguns, as you can see. I'm going to switch that out real quick. Boom. So, basically with my shotguns, you have the Wrestler's Twister, just because even at max Anarchy, the Wrestler's Twister doesn't actually have that big of a breakup as far as firing. I'll give you an example. If you look, it's still a very good twister. It just spreads out a lot quicker than usual. But if you're right in an enemy's face, you're going to hit them with every single shot. You're not going to have stuff flying all over the place like some Anarchy abilities. Then we have Interfacer, the Conference Call, and Norfleet to get back up. Then what I usually do is take the black hole, spawn in my Death Trap, and if it's single player, then I'll just switch over to a B real quick. During multiplayer, I either make a choice whether getting in the black hole or sticking with the B. The reason you don't want to have the B when you summon Death Trap is he'll take whatever shield you initially summon him with, and the B actually doesn't transfer any of the amp damage over to him. If you ever put a Love Thumper on Death Trap, you can do a serious amount of damage, since all of his procs will cause the explosion. The only issue is, just like a normal Love Thumper, those explosions can hurt you as well. I have a Legendary Anarchist class mod for the increased gun damage, and it feeds very well into most of the skills that I want, such as Typecast Ironclast, which increases my Anarchy even more, or the increased rate of gaining Anarchy, rather. Then I have my Homing Slago Negative. This is how you keep yourself healed up after getting it knocked down a little bit from Blood-Soaked Shields. She's pretty straightforward. You can switch out guns as needed for different elements, such as the Corrosive whenever the armor dudes start chasing after you, or however you see fit. So, let's give her a try. Oh, here, I'll show the other guns real quick. So there's the Twister, as I already showed. And then you have the Interfacer. If you look, it has the same pattern, just in a much wider area, where normally they're compact right next to each other. This shoots out in a big spread. Then the last one, the Conference Call. It's usually hard to track, in all honesty anyway, but there you go. It's pretty much the same, except more spread out. And that's why shotguns on Gaige are pretty badass. Oh shit, they are here already. That is not good. Just keep throwing out some Slago negatives, get my health going, and get them slagged up. The cool thing too is, normally you have to be careful with shielded enemies like that, because they'll just bounce shots back at you. But with Gaige, those shots actually have a chance of bouncing off and then homing in on the enemy again, instead of coming back and hitting you in the face. So because of that, she's actually pretty powerful. The trick here is trying to have really high Anarchy stacks. I went to Pyro Pete's bar before coming here. If you watch my previous video, you'll actually see when I started the farming job to get them. And it's pretty easy to gain stacks there. And I wanted full stacks in order to show Gaige's full power, because you need the Anarchy in order for her to really do damage. That's the main thing behind it. So, as you can see, she's pretty powerful. The only trick is you gotta have that Anarchy up in order to really be doing anything at all. Now, I'll actually switch over to B Shield real quick and see if we can't pump out even more damage. Yeah, Blastproof B. The trick with the B, as always, it has to be fully charged in order to get the amp damage effect. So with that, you can't take damage in between getting kills. But as soon as you get a kill, you're back up to full. So you can do bonus damage, especially with a conference call like this. I don't even have to really be in the room. I just stick my head out a little bit and fire down range. Oh shit, reloaded on accident. That's one of the main things with her. You have to make sure that you don't hit reload on accident. I've actually contemplated turning off my reload button when I play her, just because I have a pretty bad habit, or I guess it would be a good habit, of whenever I start to fall back, immediately reloading. It's just something I've always really done to ensure that when enemies start coming at me, I'll be able to, be able to kill them. Otherwise, this guy's taking more damage than I feel is reasonable. But whatever, there it is. No, I'm actually going to go back to Black Hole. I don't feel like the B's really doing as much right now, just because I'm not landing those constant shots before getting hit. I feel like the Black Hole's increased size, plus its ability to ensure that enemies are near you for an easy second wind in case I do get downed. Ooh, I took a big alpha strike from someone. Grenade go off because that would suck. How the hell did he got another grenade? Bastard. So right away, even as I lost probably close to 30 stacks, I gained them back just because of having the increased regen. Every time I gain one Anarchy stack, I have a 60% chance to gain a second one. So if I go down from accidentally reloading, then I can get them back just by reloading naturally, by emptying mags or getting the kills. I can get the stacks back pretty quick. So it's not a huge deal, but still a pretty noob mistake that I make pretty often when I play Gaige, just because I don't play her too often. Right there, got my shields back up to full. And boom.
Too many stacks!
Yep, so I just think Gaige is kind of boring. It's part of the reason why I don't play her very often, because in order for her to do damage, you have to have the stacks, which are a lot more difficult to get when playing in multiplayer, just because you're not going to get every single kill. Some of your partners are going to get them. So you rely more on the reloads. And then, even when you get the max damage from having crazy Anarchy stacks, then you're not really doing much. It's kind of like my Axton build, where all you do is point in a direction and click the trigger. It gets boring. That's why I don't play Axton very much. You don't even really have to look at the enemy. They just kind of die. So, that's Gaige. She can be powerful enough as long as you get that Anarchy. Again, these enemies are all OP8. I'm using OP8 gear. And they dropped like flies as long as I have the high Anarchy. If you do build a Gaige with the Anarchy tree, one of the main things you need to pick up is Discord. Because if you reload without having Discord, if you accidentally hit the reload button, you lose all your Anarchy stacks. And that's just not good for business, because if you have 300 Anarchy stacks and then you just hit the R button or whatever the reload button is on the consoles, then boom, you're starting over from scratch. Discord has this little turtle guy there pop up at the bottom. You can actually regen some of your life that way if you need to. And you actually increase your fire rate. And you'll just keep losing, it's something like 2 Anarchy stacks every second. But all you have to do is reload again, intentionally reload, and it'll turn off. You'll have whatever remaining Anarchy stacks you had before turning off Discord. So it's a nice little ability to make sure you don't mess up and ruin who knows how long it took to build up the Anarchy. If you're in the multiplayer, it could have taken you an hour of gameplay, for all I know, in order to get to 400 stacks. So that's Gaige. And yeah, good luck. Have fun. Peace.